Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Devine, and in the past 4 years, I mastered the art of creating personalized one-to-one messages that actually get responses. During my time at HubSpot as a sales rep, I took this skill to the next level and ultimately ranked third place in all of North America in 2023. Now I'm on a mission to help sales leaders and founders scale their outbound strategies to new heights. And in this video, I'm breaking down exactly how to craft high-impact messages tailored to your ideal customer profile, your ICP. And this is the exact framework I use for my customers on WorldMeets.io. By the end of this video, you'll have that step-by-step framework so you guys can actually implement this and see results right away. Now let's dive into the video. So guys, when you're thinking about creating high impact messages to your ICP, the first thing you want to think about is actually your total addressable market, or your TAM. And the reason you do this is because oftentimes it's very challenging to manually go through the process of finding leads. Right? You can go to someone's website, you can find maybe their CEO, their CMO, write that in an Excel spreadsheet, maybe find their email address, and then send a one-off email. That process is good, but it's not very efficient and it's very time consuming. So what you do in alternative ways is actually you going to different data providers, like for example clay.com, which is a data aggregator. Essentially it scrapes different websites, scrapes Google Maps, it finds different data points, and it consolidates all that into sort of like a spreadsheet that they have in their platform, where you can do a lot of your data collection on. Additionally, there's a tool called Paulo. I'm sure you guys have heard of Paulo.io. It's been around for the longest time. Essentially, what it does on the back end is scrapes like LinkedIn, and it finds B2B leads. It puts them into their database, and then you can actually find your TAM that way. Or you can even use like LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right? So if this prospect that you're looking for, or your TAM, if they are on LinkedIn, chances are they'll be on LinkedIn Sales and Sales Navigator, and you can find leads that way. So the reason you do this is because all the leads are going to be relevant to your niche. They're high quality, accurate information because you're verifying among multiple different providers, and it's scalable. So you're sifting through hundreds of leads quickly at once, and you're not going through one by one. The second step in terms of writing good messages is actually segmenting your TAM, right? And what I mean by this is you're actually dividing up your market into subcategories that essentially narrow down your search and you can therefore make it more personalized. And what I mean by this is you can actually use AI and break down your market essentially into like different categories, like job titles, employee count. If they're using competitor software, the competitor technology, you can use that as like as a north star to go after. And even if like they're selling different products, right? Like the total addressable market that you're reaching out to, and within that the segments, if each segment is selling to different markets, that could be itself a segment that you can write personalized message to. And the reason this is important is because obviously you don't want to have the same messaging across the board for everyone. Therefore, you're making it more personalized. You're making it more unique to the individual that you're messaging. And the example I like to use in this scenario is one of my customers. That's a POS company. They wanted to go after all the restaurants in the United States and sell their POS system. And what I did for them was actually I segmented their market, which is all restaurants. That's great and all, but it's a big list, so you actually want to be more personalized. And what we found out later on was they actually wanted to reach out to restaurants that had drive-through options, right? So that drive-through, because their technology was catered to that, and therefore in our messaging we mentioned that this POS company's software was geared towards drive-through restaurants. Another thing we did was actually divide it up among like different types of restaurants, right? So if maybe they're a franchise, maybe they're privately owned. Those are different segments of itself. So definitely really good to kind of think about it in that term. And the third step you want to do in terms of once you have these leads, right? You have the segments within them. You actually want to verify these leads, right? Because not all leads are created equal. And oftentimes, what you realize is that one email provider might give an email address, but chances are it's actually going to go to spam if you end up emailing them. It's not an accurate email. So what happens is if you send these emails, you get a high bounce rate, poor deliverability, which means the emails get flagged to spam by Gmail or Outlook. You obviously waste your time because you go through this entire process and you send emails and you realize it's actually not good emails. And then that ultimately leads to having bad CRM data, right? Because think about it, if you're importing all these leads, you're using one email provider and you're verifying to see if they have email addresses and you're just taking whatever email they give you, you're actually putting bad data into your CRM, and you don't want that because your sales reps ultimately end up, sending these cold emails later on down the road to these same bad email addresses. So you don't want that. You want to actually get accurate data and then put them in your CRM. And the way we do this actually is using a waterfall enrichment from within the platform clay.com. So what a waterfall enrichment is, it's a quick screenshot of what it looks like, but essentially it verifies the data among different providers. So for example, like Find Email, Lead Magic, Prospeo, right? It verifies it among all three, all four, whatever you guys want to put. And it gives you, the email address as an output. The reason is this is good is because you're not relying on one, right? You're looking at multiple, and this could be used not only for email addresses but also like finding, like decision makers from within the companies, right? The CMO, CEO, thing like that, right? That's really important as well because um, it ties back into the data aspect. You don't want to rely on one source. And one other thing in terms of like why this is good is because your emails don't get flagged at that point because you're sending accurate emails. They're accurate email addresses, and on in the long run, you're actually saving money too because you're going after high quality contacts and you're not wasting time and resources in the wrong areas. Step number four is actually writing the copy, um, and the reason this is important is because you have to actually write relevant content based on each segment. So what I wrote here is like, the key stage where you're looking to find message market fit. And message market fit is essentially, having the right message based on the market. In other words, why your messaging would be relevant to one individual in a specific segment versus someone else. Again, this comes back to how you're actually dividing up your total addressable market. That will ultimately dictate what type of copy you're gonna have. And again, in this POS software example that I was talking about, the drive-through itself is, a segment within the larger market, which is restaurants, right? So the more you can divide up your market, the better messaging you're going to have across the board, and the more people are going to resonate with the messaging, and actually you're going to have a high reply rate, whether it's through email copy or if it's from LinkedIn, or even email marketing itself. But in this scenario, we're talking about cold email and LinkedIn specifically. The second aspect in terms of writing your copy is actually crafting the offer, right? So now that we have each market's pain points, we actually want to dial in and write that in our email copy, right? So that's part of the offer, and the offer is what our product or service is solving for. And if you guys can nail one of these three things, it's ultimately why people purchase. So it's either to save time, save money, or make money, right? Those are one of the three. If they can solve one of those three, then you have your product or service can actually deliver at least across from like your messaging, right? And you have to talk about this in your email copy. So as an example, the POS company example. So when we're selling to drive-through restaurants, ultimately the targeting we have is a lot of, or at least the differentiator between the POS company I was working with versus other ones is they were not geared towards like drive-through, right? Versus the one I was working with is. So when we're talking to the drive-through restaurant owners, maybe the head chef or the founder, whatever may be the persona, we're actually pitching our POS system that's geared towards drive-throughs, and what it does is actually saves them time, right? Because other softwares don't do that because they're cloud-based, not getting to technicals, but what it does is it automates their process, right? So they don't have to use multiple different vendors. They can actually use that one POS both for their drive-through and sit down, and it saves them time and efficiency. So that's the spiel, right? That's why we have that messaging for one segment versus the other. And in terms of writing the message, there's like two different ways or two ideas that you guys want to have in your back of your mind when you're writing it. The first one is you actually want to sound like a normal person. So as much as we're talking about AI and how great it is and how efficient it could be for us, you actually want to sound like a real person when you're coming across to these individuals. Uh, and the mindset you should have is, how would you interact with someone on a one-to-one basis, right? If you're sitting face to face with them, how would you interact? That sort of language is what you want to have coming across in your messages, right? So you want to sound human. You don't want to sound that you're robotic. You don't want to sound like, hey, you're sending the same message across to everyone. You want to sound unique. And that's what actually resonates with people. And so the framework, and I have other videos on my channel talking about this in terms of how to, write the message itself. But you first want to come across as, show me you know me, right? So that person that you're writing to, you have to talk about them, right? You have to show them that you know them, right? Maybe it's whether they're the CEO of this specific company, right? Or they're using this software, or they have this job opening, right? These are things that you can write in your email copy that's going to trigger the prospect in their head to understand, like, hey, this person knows me, that they did research, and they took the time to learn more about me. Second aspect is tying in pain. So what's the pain that they're dealing with regards to their current situation, and your offer. The offer solution is your product or service, how that's going to help them alleviate that pain. And finally is a call to action, right? That's you asking for a meeting, you asking for, hey, can I send you more resources, things like that. Step number 5 is actually setting up the software, setting software. So this is kind of technical, but I'll kind of roll through it. So the first thing is you actually have to purchase burner domains to actually protect your main domain's reputation, and prepare it for cold email campaigns. So because you don't want to send it from your actual domain, because your domain might get flagged, and it's going to lose reputation. Therefore, you purchase 3 email inboxes per domain. And the current rules are you're sending up to 15 emails per day per inbox. That's sort of the sweet spot that we found. And you either choose, one of the best sending software, which is either Instantly or Smart to actually import your inboxes and to send these cold email campaigns. But prior to you actually sending the full 15 emails per day, you actually want to warm it up to between 2 to 4 weeks. So you actually build up that credibility with Gmail, Outlook, all these tools, and then you can send the full volume. And then step number 6, ultimately what you want to do is you want to maybe check open rates, how many people are opening your emails, what is the click-through rate, and ultimately what the open rate and click-through rate is going to show you is, is actually going to tell you is like how good is your subject line, because that's the first thing people see is the subject line, and that's why they click on your email or your LinkedIn message, so to speak. And once you get that information, you actually want to see, for example, like what's the reply rate, right, overall. Usually for customers it tends to be around 2 to 3% reply rate for campaigns, um, overall reply rate. And then beyond that, you actually want to check like positive replies, right? You can also flag that in your Instantly your Smart and then actually determine whether your campaigns are getting good replies or not. So this is the framework that we use at my company. I'll be linking this in the description for you guys to check out. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully, you found some value out of this. Let me know if if there's anything you want to add that would be useful. Thanks so much, guys. Bye bye.